Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to learn writing, especially argumentative writing. And we still remember that in an argumentative essay, we have three parts of the paragraph. The first part of the paragraph in an argumentative essay is introduction. The second part is the body of the essay itself, and the last part is the conclusion. And today we are going to focus our discussion about introduction section of your essay. Before we talk further about the introduction section of this essay, I would like to give you the outline of what I'm going to explain in this video. The first thing that we are going to know is knowing the purpose first, knowing the function, why we should create an introduction of the essay. What is the importance of the introduction part? We need to know this in order to give more motivation for us to write an introduction part of the essay. Next, we are going to study about the components. It's related to what should we include in an introduction of the essay. So we are going to study the parts of the introduction paragraph of the essay, especially in an argumentative essay. The last thing that we are going to study in this session is related to how we make introduction paragraph. Yes, when we write, of course, we should write something interesting and appealing for the reader. And there are so many ways for you to create introduction part of your essay. Yes, there are at least 6 techniques that we are going to talk later in this video. Well, now the first thing that we are going to know is the purpose of writing introduction. Why should we begin our essay with introduction? Of course, when you write an essay, you need this introduction to lead the reader to understand what you are going to talk. Yeah, it also can give the background information to the reader about the topic that you choose or you select in your essay. And most importantly, actually, is to attract the reader's attention. Like in speech, usually in speech, the great speaker often use quote, often use questions to start their speech. And it is also done in writing an essay. Actually, when we are going to attract the reader's attention, we can use such techniques like using the quotes, question, and so on that we are going to talk it later in this video. Alright, but the most important thing that we should understand from the purpose of making or creating an introduction section is that it is useful for attracting the student or the reader's attention, so that they can decide whether they are going to continue reading or not. And also, of course, to give the background or the context, actually what the writer will talk later or deeper in this essay. All of them are included in the introduction session. And it is introduction part we also have some components. We need to know about some components before we write an introduction part. What are they? The first component of an introduction part is the hook. Yes, in this example of the essay, we see the hook, the yellow highlight. Let's read it together. What happens to the plastic bag you throw away after shopping? Yes, this is a kind of hook that we can put in our introduction paragraph. Why it can be a hook? Yes, because it can attract the reader's attention. So the hook is actually the sentence or some sentences that you can use to attract the reader's attention. It can be done by asking question, giving a quote, or probably also you may talk a story at the beginning of your introduction paragraph. Next is the background information or the context. You may see here the green highlight is where we put the background information. When we talk about the plastic bag here, we should try to give a little bit description or information about the phenomenon around us, the phenomenon that is related to the use of plastic bags. And that phenomenon can be seen in the green highlight here. Let's read it together. Most people don't think twice about tossing a plastic bag into the trash. Yet these bags can take hundreds of years to break down. Along the way, they pollute the land, choke marine animals, and clog drainage system. Yes, this is the background information that you should give to the reader, so the reader will understand more about what issue actually the writer want to talk about. In this case, the writer want to raise the reader's attention to the problem of plastic bags. Yeah, in the green highlight here, actually the writer tries to raise the reader's attention related to the problems of plastic bags. And then after that, we have also the thesis statement in the introduction paragraph. Thesis statement is the last part of introduction paragraph. I think you still remember about the purpose of thesis statement itself. Yes, it is the same as the main idea. So it is put clearly in the background or in the introduction part of your essay. It should be a clear idea, a clear argument of the writer. Well, these are the components, and I hope you can understand the components very well later to make a good introduction paragraph or your essay. And now let's try to move on to the techniques in writing introduction. We have several techniques that we can use in writing introduction. We have general fact, we have question, quote, anecdote, striking fact, and controversial issue. Let's take a look at the example so you will understand more about each technique that we can use in writing introduction part of your essay. The first is asking questions, like the example that I have presented before. This paragraph also starts with question. Have you ever wondered why many students who major in English still feel nervous or hesitant when speaking the language in a real life situation? Yes, this is a kind of question that probably can attract the readers. Why it can attract the readers? Because commonly questions can make us curious, right? So introducing the paragraph with a question is a good idea. So later if you make your own essay, you may try to use this technique. Alright, this is about English Day, and you can identify by yourself here which one is the hook, background information, and thesis statement. Next is quote. It is also a nice idea, and many great figures also use quotes usually in introducing their discussion in a book, in an article, and so on. Yes, quote is a very strong statement that you can use to attract the reader's attention. You may try to study the model here, and then later you may try on your own to write or to start your introduction with the quote. Next is the anecdote. What does it mean by anecdote? Anecdote is the story that you usually tell to the people. Yeah. In this essay, the writer starts with the story. I think story is something that most of the people like. Yeah. The children, the teenagers, and also even the adult. They mostly like to listen or to read the story. So I suppose that by presenting a story at the beginning of your essay or introduction here, it can attract or it can make the readers interested in what you are going to read. So it is also nice for you to try to write an anecdote or a story in the beginning. Of course, the story must be relevant with the context or the thesis statement that you are going to write down in the end of the paragraph. Next is by presenting the general fact. Yeah, mostly the essay of the students I have read before, they usually present a very common way to introduce the introduction part of the essay by using general fact. Yeah, this essay starts with the general fact means that the writer present something very general, something known by many people, and probably most of the people will agree with this fact. Yeah, so this is a kind of general fact, a kind of general phenomenon that we often face in our daily life. Like in this paragraph, you can see that the ability to communicate fluently in English has become a vital skill. I think most of the people agree with it. So this is a common agreement among the people, is a common fact. Yeah, we can call it as general fact. Usually some writers move from the general fact into the specific one to introduce the thesis statement. Next is related to striking fact. What does it mean by striking fact? I think you can easily understand this kind of techniques. Yes, if you see the first sentence of this paragraph, it talks about the data about the childhood obesity, which has more than tripled since 1975, and so on. The core point in this statement is actually the data. The writer tried to display the data at the beginning, the striking fact. we can support with the data that probably make many people surprised. Well, after that, you may continue to the background information, and finally you reach the thesis statement. Next, I think this is the last that we have for the technique. It's about controversial issue. Of course, when we talk about argumentative essay, we try to look for the topic that contains pros or cons, pros and cons. And the topic which has the pros and cons, we can call it as controversial issue. The topic that raise some people to agree and some people do not agree with a certain phenomenon. Like in this paragraph, you may see this is about English Day. Some people probably will agree to implement English Day, and some people probably disagree. Especially the context here is in the English program in a university. Yes, you may try to introduce in the beginning of the paragraph about the controversy itself. You may try to show to the reader that there is the controversial issue which exists among the society. In this case, the society is among the students of English study program. So you may tell the reader clearly that there is such controversy, and you may tell it in the beginning. So when you write an essay, an argumentative essay, you should give also the background. So the background here is in the university, in the campus, and you try to introduce this background to reach the thesis statement. Although there is a controversy, you should try to stick on one position, whether you agree or not to the topic. And here the topic is introduced in the beginning. The topic is related to English Day, whether you agree that the English Day is held or you disagree with the implementation of English Day. So you must choose. Although we state at the beginning that there is a controversial issue, but in the thesis statement you must choose your position, whether you agree or disagree. And that is one of the function, one of the things that we should remember from thesis statement. It should be clear related to the sentence and clear related to our position. And if we agree, we should have, of course, the reason. And of course, if we disagree, we should also have the reason of why we disagree with the statement of controversial issue. Alright, so those are some kinds of techniques that we can use in writing argumentative essay. Well, if you want to understand more, you may try to do the assignments that I give in the description of this video. These are some quizzes that you can do to understand more, to know or to look at some models or techniques that you can use in writing your argumentative essay. And practice makes perfect. Don't forget to practice writing on your own. In this case, because we learn about introduction of an essay, let's try to practice writing introduction of the essay. Try by yourself and don't forget to include some components that we have studied before: the who, the background information, and also the thesis statement. Thank you. I think that's all that I'm trying to explain to you in this session of the video. Hopefully it will be useful for you to improve your capability, to improve your skill in writing argumentative essay. See you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.